I don't see any questions, but thank you very much.
I just might say, this room is terrible for acoustics, and there's no arrangement at all for people who have hearing difficulty.
Okay, well, that's
really
duly noted.
You doing something about that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is Alan Wayne Scott. Here we go. Hello, welcome.
I'd ask permission to approach the committee for just a moment. I'm a courier, so I like to talk to you. No, that's okay. Okay, first of all, I'm thrilled to, are we on here? I'm thrilled to be able to again address this committee, and I'm just thrilled that we're having a nuanced, intelligent conversation about all this stuff. It's about time. We had these conversations a long time ago in this city. We figured out what the problems were. We figured out ways to deal with them. We dealt with them. And then the last regime came in and screwed it all up. And we're back to where we were. Now, I've never used this overhead before. I don't know if it's going to work. I just threw this together. Using the city's own, sorry, that's the wrong side. Using the city's own statistics. The way the statistics are used in the road safety plan that's been introduced here, we're misreading the statistics. From 1995 to 2003, we had 347 total dead on our streets, for an average of 38 per year. In 1998, the Pedestrian Committee was formed to address the issue. We spent a number of years looking into the situation. In 2001, we put forward the Pedestrian Charter to put forward a vision for the city to follow. And in 2003, the city put forward that safe driving campaign. Those fridge magnets I gave you are from that campaign. And from 2004 to 2012, we saw an average of 25 dead on our streets each year, for a reduction of 13 people a year less killed. A reduction of more than 30% of the pedestrians killed on our roads. Why doesn't this plan reflect the successes we've had, the way we know how to address these situations, and incorporate that back into moving from the terrible, terrible shame that the city invited when we had Mayor Ford and former Quick Chair Denzelman and Wong making our streets purposefully less safe for the citizens they were elected to serve. We have now gone up from 2013 to 2015. We're back ahead of where we were before. We now have 39 dead a year as an average. Why is this happening? And why does the road safety plan not reflect this reality? It's astounding. Now, I've been identified when Councillor Robinson, when we met earlier this week, you said to me, "Oh, I know you. You're the activist." Well, when the Pedestrian Committee first got together, councillors referred to us as an activist committee after a couple of years, and that's why they stopped listening to us. Activism seems to have a negative connotation for a lot of councillors. I guess we're in the way. We make too much noise. We speak truth to power, and we bring these issues forward. But I'm not an activist. I don't look at myself that way. I've never been paid for any of this stuff that I've been doing for the last 35 years to make our city safer. I'm a great-grandfather. I've got a 7-year-old great-granddaughter who rides a bicycle in this city. I have 2 in-laws, parents-in-law, who are 88 and 92 respectively, who are trapped by the traffic on their streets. They can't get across streets, main streets in this city quickly enough. This city does not reflect the care that it should have for people who do not travel in motor vehicles. The people who travel in motor vehicles are making a choice. If you look at the tagline on that fridge magnet, it says we're all pedestrians. We're not motorists, we're not cyclists, we're not transit riders. We are people, human beings, pedestrians who are designed this way, and we make choices individually as to how we will help ourselves move around the city. We are all one. You asked Councillor Holladay, what can we do to get back to a more civilized way of looking at this whole discussion? This is it. It's not a fight. There's no them. It's all us.
Yeah.
And until we reflect that in what we do, we're not going to get anywhere.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councillor Holladay has a question for you.
Good stuff.
Oh, if you could help me, because I haven't been here that long, what is it that changed? You mentioned that we were on the right track with pedestrians, and then it changed in the last government. And then
Take a look at the numbers.
No,
Pretty
I know
impressive,
the
right?
numbers. I saw the numbers. But
Okay.
you said there were things that we did that changed, but I'm
In 1998, the pedestrian committee was formed, the Toronto Pedestrian Committee, as an advisory committee to the council. So we had a bunch of people with experience, anecdotal experience, out on the streets of Toronto. It was me, and Bill Brown was a member of the committee as well after a couple of years, but the original committee was a bunch of fairly elderly women at the time who couldn't get across the streets in time, and me as a professional bike and foot and transit courier. And the committee started to look at all the issues that were impacting us from anecdotal experience, and we invited all sorts of different people to come in. We did studies and all this stuff, and it was all volunteer work, so there wasn't a big cost to this. But we did that for a couple of years. We organized all that and put out a pedestrian charter as to the vision that we saw going forward for this city decades into the future, how we were going to progress into this century. And then we started that We're All Pedestrians campaign. And that was something that the pedestrian committee dragged staff into. It wasn't the way they wanted to go. So by 2003, that was the first time we were really having an impact, not just on the discussion, but how things were happening at street level, right? And you can see the results. We dropped over that whole period, right up until the changes that the Ford regime started to take in.
What changes, though? What are those changes?
They got rid of the pedestrian and cycling committees. They said they weren't necessary, right? They removed citizen safer infrastructure from the streets of Toronto by corrupting their own debate procedure at this committee to get rid of safer infrastructure on Jarvis Street, on Pharmacy, on Birchmount.
Bike lanes?
Bike lanes,
okay.
Citizen safer infrastructure. You got to remember that those bike lanes, when you take them out, it makes it less safe for the pedestrians because a lot of the more timid cyclists get back on the sidewalks. Okay, so they took that out, and they did it by muzzling the staff that were hired by taxpayers to say, hey, this is unsafe what you're doing. They didn't even let Gary Welsh speak, even though he was sitting right between Min and Wong and Shiner, right? Didn't let him speak. It's on video. You can see it on YouTube, right? So that was the second thing they did. And thirdly was the attitude. Denzel Min and Wong saying to the medical officer of health, stick to your knitting, when he's talking about the death on our roadways as if it's none of the medical officer of health's business. Right? And then the mayor saying nuts, nuts, nuts to the idea of the speed reductions. Now, this will save lives. You asked me the question. Do you want to hear the answer?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, our next
Thanks.